Unit A, Plants and Animals. Chapter 32, Plant, Structure and Reproduction. Some plants are microscopic, and some are as tall as a 30-story building. But the plants are made of cells that have cell wall, and nearly all have a green pigment called chlorophyll, which allows them to make energy from the sun in a process called photosynthesis, energy production. Plants also have red, orange, and yellow pigment called carotenoids, which are also used for photosynthesis. The first plants were primarily green algae living underwater, then ferns, conifers, and flowering plants developed over billions of years as species adapted to living on land. Plants made a jump from living in water to land by developing structure that allows them to grow upward and conserve water. On land, in order to conserve water, plants developed a waxy protective layer called cuticle. For structure support, plants developed a rigid cell wall filled with cellulose, a strong fiber. Vascular and non-vascular plants. Mostly very simple plants like mosses. Non-vascular plants don't have a structure to help them carry out and distribute water or nutrient. So each cell absorbs water and nutrient on its own. Vascular plants have a tube-like structure that carry and distribute nutrient. Most vascular plants have seeds, but there are a few vascular plants, such as fern, that don't. Non-vascular, vascular, absorbs water through cells. Vascular, tube-like structure carry water with water. Vascular tissue. Xylem, cambium, phloem. Xylem, tube-like cells stacked together to form vessels that distribute water from the root to different parts of the plant. They also provide structural support. Phloem, tube-like cells stacked to form tubes that distribute food for use and storage. Cambium, cells that produce new xylem and phloem cells. Between the xylem and phloem in some plants increase the thickness of stems and roots. Remember that xylem produce tubes that transport water and phloem produce tubes that transport food. Seedless plant. Seedless plants reproduce using spore, which are small reproductive units. Seedless plants can be broken down into two categories, non-vascular and vascular. Non-vascular seedless plants. Non-vascular seedless plants are only a few cells thick because each cell absorbs water and nutrients through its cell membrane directly from its surrounding. Most non-vascular seedless plants live in a damp environment where there is ample water. Non-vascular seedless plants have rhizoid, which are tiny strictly structured instead of roots. Rhizoid anchor plants. Non-vascular seedless plants include mosses, liverwort, and hornwort. Non-vascular seedless plants are often the pioneer species of a developing ecosystem, especially in wetter climate. Vascular seedless plants. Vascular seedless plants such as fern, ground vine, horsetail, and spike mosses can grow larger because they have structure to distribute water and nutrient. Most of the vascular seedless plants, apart from sponge and horsetail, don't exist anymore, and we know about them only through fossils. Plants that have seeds. Seeds are reproductive unit adapted to land. Unlike spores, seeds have stored food resources and a seed coat for protection. It's like when parents give kids a lunchbox and coat so that they survive at school. Seed plants can be broken down the gymnosperms, which are plants that have seeds that aren't contained in a fruit, and angiosperms, which are plants that have seeds contained in a fruit. All of the fruit we eat are angiosperms. Remember, gymnosperms produce seeds that are not protected by fruits, like fine trees. Gymnosperms do not flower. Angiosperms produce seeds that are produced by fruit. Angiosperms do flower. 1. Leaves. The one of the plants where photosynthesis happens. Some are flat, others are all plants with seeds are vascular plants, and most have these three structures: leaf, stems, roots. Leaf is the organ of the plant where photosynthesis happens. Some are flat, others are shaped like needles, and others have different shapes. Epidermis. The outer layer is a wax cuticle have prevent water loss and protects the leaf. The leaf exchange gases such as oxygen and carbon dioxide in the environment through opening in the epidermis, called stomata. Guard cells open and close the stomata, like lips on your mouth. Leaves also can lose water through these stomata, so they usually keep them closed on hot days. Stomata, epidermis, sponge layer, palisade layer. Palisade layer, the layer beneath the epidermis that contains chloroplast to make energy through photosynthesis, the energy factory of the plants. Palisade layer, sponge layer, the layer beneath the palisade layer, it gets its name from the arrangement of cell. The layer very loosely packed, leaving many air pockets to store CO2 or oxygen, like the sponge. Most of the vascular tissue, which is the tissue that distributes water and food, is found in the sponge layer. 2. Stems. The support for leaves, branches, etc. Roots. The plant structure that absorbs the water, gases, and nutrients from the soil and stores food. Structurally, roots support the plants and prevent it from being blown or washed away. Flowering plant reproduction. Angiosperms flower. Seeds are formed in a flowering plant when the female part of the flower is pollinated or fertilized with pollen from the male part of the plant. Most plant species have both male and female part on the same plant. Egg cell developing in the female reproductive part, called ovary. The ovary also have a long tube extending from which called pistil. Surrounding the pistil are the male reproductive part called stamens. Stamens produce pollen, colored dust that contains sperm cell. The sigma is the part of the plant. Stigma is the part of the plant that receives the pollen. A seed is reproduced when the egg from the ovary is united with sperm from pollen, a process called pollination. Pollination happens when pollen from the stamen is transferred to the pistil by a stigma. Most plants have adaptation that keep them from self-pollinating, such as different timing of maturity of sperm and egg cell, while enticing insect with nectar, so the insect carry the pollen to other plants. The sperm cell in the pollen then reaches the stigma and move down the pistil to reach the egg cell in the ovary. Ovary, pistil, stigma, pollen, stamen. Plant parents must scatter their seeds away from themselves so they don't compete for sun, water, and nutrient from the soil. Plants have adopted different methods for seed dispersal, such as wind, water, animals, bursting. Wind. Seeds are light and have feathery bristles, so they can be carried by the wind. Like when the seeds on a dandelion head blow away. Water. Seeds float away downstream and rivers. Animal. Seeds may hook on to an animal's fur, feather, or skin. Animal may also eat fruit and then disperse the seed through their dropping. Bursting. The fruit of the seeds dries out and spills open, thus throwing seeds in different directions. Ovary, pistil, stigma, stamen, pollen. If the seeds have proper water and temperature, it germinates or grows using food stores in the seed. The protective coating of the seed split open and the primary root to extend into the soil. The seed continues to develop, sprouting roots, stems, and leaves that allow the plant to make food and support itself.